Hello, and God bless you. I'm Pastor Emmanuel. I want to talk on something that has given me some concerns, especially most recently, and this actually has to do with relationships that has been given the name dating. Of course, relationships that people claim to be dating and all that. All right, dating relationships. And I am beginning to observe many relationships or many dating relationships are actually grounds where people are being exploited of their time, their energy, their body, their money. And I'm thinking to myself, was this the plan of God from the beginning? I'm thinking to myself, is this what God designed? Was this God's original design from the beginning? That people are heartbroken. From research, over 70% or more than 70% of depressed people actually got depressed from their encounter with their relationships. From maybe a heartbreak or maybe a disappointment. Many depressing issues are actually a product of emotional wreck, basically. And this was not how God designed that it might be. There are many people who will never get married, who have proposed in their heart that they'll never get married, and there are many people who are having issues in their marriages right now, basically because of the past experiences they've had from dating relationships. All right? Was this how God designed it initially? The answer is no. The Bible says that when He made them both male and female. The Bible also says that it is not good for a man to be alone. What that means is it is not good for man there doesn't have just, it's not talking about the masculine gender, it's talking about all mankind, both men and women. He said it's not good for them to be alone. What this means is that God's intention for people is that they are in a relationship, they are married, they are partnering with somebody in the journey of life. That's His design. But hey, when God has an original plan, an original system, and those things do not work as He has planned them, then there is an influence somewhere. And so we should be looking at for the influence. The Bible says after God had created everything He had created and made, He said He looked at them and He said that they were good. So if something is going wrong in the institution of marriages, in the institution of relationships, we should actually look back at the original plan and find out where men has come to play a role, or where men's system have come to interrupt God's original plan for humanity and for the believers. Now, I want to give you a very simple example, a very relatable example. Now the world entirely, or the globe, is recently drifting into something we call global warming. And you could tell from research, I could tell from research, and then you could also see from, if you did geography and you're familiar with research and your news, you would tell that global warming is actually an resultant effect of the activities of men, right? It is the breaking of the first layer of the cloud, the ozone layer of the cloud, and causing an unsupposed ray of the sun to begin to reach the earth, and then this begins to affect the ecosystem of the globe. And all of these things are just as a result of the activities of men. CO2 being dispersed into the atmosphere, irregularity with disposal of waste, and all of those things that men do is now becoming a problem to God's original design. The same thing happens with marriages. There is an original design for marriage. If you check the Bible very well, you'll find out that the Bible system for marriage actually abhors dating. There is nothing like dating in the Bible system of marriage. You just see people who get engaged and then they get married. So it's just a two-step process. you're engaged, and you're married. I can show that to you everywhere in scripture. And so this tells you that you actually do not need to date a person to know that person. God has designed a system for the believer and for his children, Israel, at first, and then the believer at large. He has designed this system to help you escape the heartbreaks, the depression, the pains that come out of spending a number of years with somebody and you are not sure that person was going to be your husband or your wife. He has designed a system. You don't need to date a person to know a person. So the biblical system for getting to know a person is that you get to know the family that person came from. Even in our time, our family, our parents and our grandparents and our ancestors would usually apply this same biblical principle. And guess what? They will go and ask, where is he from? Where is she from? Who is her father? Who is her grandfather? They will make research, because the truth is, a mango tree, a mango fruit cannot come from a guava tree. And a guava fruit cannot look. A guava tree cannot look like a mango fruit, like a mango tree. Right? So a person is a product of their families. A person is a product of where they come from. So instead of spending your time trying to explore each other, and why don't you, before exploring each other and before making all those attempts, why don't you go and find out who this person is, where this person is from? You don't have to start dating a person to know all this, right? So let me show you how the Bible has designed that this goes. So when a man is supposed to get married to a woman, in Bible days, so the what you call dating is actually the period where the man tries to want to convince the woman. At this point, or at this stage, the man already has known the family where she comes from. He has known how she behaves. He has known virtually everything about her. She has been maybe familiar with the family or familiar with the friends and all of those. And so he begins to go around this lady, trying to convince her. And that period that we call dating is actually a period of persuasion. Is more like evangelism. He's trying to get and win this lady to himself. And the moment that lady agrees, that friendship or that dating immediately switches to a level of commitment, and that level of commitment is called the engagement. So actually, biblical original design for marriages is that you are engaged to a person and then you are married to the person. So engagement is actually same as marriage. It's almost the same thing. Engagement is when you have the biblical standard of engagement is that you have been paid, a bride price has been paid for you. Your both families has met, and then what is left is for you people to consummate it, and then you are married. In other words, that sex has not happened is the reason why you are still engaged. So I want to say this very, very well. The world has painted this whole thing a different way. We now see the different way. A guy comes and gets a ring and kneels down and proposes, and they said, I am engaged. No, you are not really engaged. If he did that without seeing your parents, you are not engaged. If he did that without meeting your pastor, you are not engaged. If you did all that secretly, you are not engaged. And so you are giving yourself to him, you're throwing in your all, you are about to be scammed. There is a biblical design for how marriage can be done. So I'm going to show you a very powerful Genesis chapter 24. This is the story of how Eliezer, the man from Damascus, a servant to Abraham, got a wife for Isaac. It was very, very explanatory. The man went on a journey, and of course, Abraham made him swear that he was going to get a wife, and then so he went on a journey in search of a wife. And guess what? Abraham told him, you must go search for me a wife amongst my kindred. Don't say, he said, swear to me you will not give me a wife amongst the Canaanites. That's what Abraham told Eliezer to do. And Eliezer put his hands in between his legs in sign of commitment and swore. I can explain what that means, go further and talk about that, but that's not like what I'm driving to today. So he swore that he was going to get a wife for Abraham's son amongst Abraham's kindred. And so he went on the search, and then he made a prayer to God that if God will show him favor, and then the person that comes and gives him water to drink and give his camel water to drink would be the woman. But listen, he didn't go outside the family. He didn't go without. But listen, this is what many people are doing. Many people are looking for their wives in another planet. You are looking for who you will get married to, and you are searching a distance. But God has put, the Bible says in the book of Psalm 68, it says he placed solitary in families. What that means, that word solitary actually has to do with blessing. It talks about blessing, that God has put a blessing amongst family. God has put an advantage amongst families. So rather than go looking a distance, running a distance, or traveling a mile to look for a wife, look around people you are familiar with. Look around your place of upbringing, the place you grew up, the place that you are actually familiar with. Look around your friends. Look around your family friends. Look around your kindred, if you know your people and they are good people. Look around your church family. This is so important. I'm from a church where everybody is prophecy, and that's not bad. But the church is more or less very, very centered on the prophetic, and maybe the church has a lot to do with some of these diabolic practices. Maybe they go to the river and do certain things, and then I'm attending or your spouse or the other person is attending a church, a Bible-believing church, very worded church where they're discipling people, and you are going to look for a wife, or I'm going to look for a wife from a church that they believe in all these diabolic, religiously diabolic practices. I don't know how to put it. That's a mismatch. That's going, over the boundaries you are familiar with, and you would make a mistake. That is why people will now have to start saying, oh, let's date for 2 years, for 3 years, for 4 years. You are wasting away your energy, your time, your body in the name of dating. Satan has used this tag name called dating to rob many people of their God-ordained destinies. And that's why I'm sharing this.